Hi again friends and welcome back. I felt the urge to make this video because just in case you didn't know, yesterday Metallica dropped a new song. Yes, believe it or not. Not only that, they actually revealed a new album coming soon in April 23rd, I believe, next year. In addition to a tour in support of that album, which is going to be titled 72 Seasons. Now, of course, we're not going to talk about all of that today. We're just going to focus on one thing, that is the song that all of a sudden came out yesterday. This song is called Lux Æterna, and this was not the first time that Metallica suddenly dropped a new song, because they have actually done that before when Hardwired came out. So yeah, today we're going to be reviewing Lux Æterna, a full review, plus we're going to predict, we're going to see what the expectations are for the next album, what to expect from the upcoming 11th album. By the way, it's going to be the 11th studio album, not the 12th. I don't know why some people have been saying that it's going to be the 12th. Even Metallica themselves did it. Go ahead and see it on their website. Anyway, let's begin. First of all, let's look at the title, the song title, Lux Æterna. What does it mean? So this is a phrase in Latin that means eternal light, and I don't think Metallica has ever done this, like a title that's not in English, so I think it's really cool. Yeah, eternal light, Lux Æterna, let's go. My first impression is that this sounds a lot like Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I mean, the overall sound is really similar, but there are some really tiny differences that we're gonna talk about. They kept the same heavy, crunchy, and rich sound. If you listen really carefully, you'll find that the guitar sound is not as exhausting, not as overwhelming as the one on Hardwired to Self-Destruct. It's kind of a tamed or humbled version of the Hardwired tone. I mean, it's not as heavy and as aggressive as the one that was on Hardwired. On Hardwired, the guitars were way too outstanding in the mix. So on this song, they're not that loud, not that exhausting, not the type that would give you ear fatigue. But guess what just got louder than the last time? Yup, you guessed it, Lars Ulrich's bass drum. I don't even know how he does this. The bass drum is way too loud on this song. This has been criticized for a few years, and obviously now it's not over. But like overall, the heaviness is acceptable. It's not too heavy. It's aggressive, it's punchy, but it's not exhausting. And this is the problem that I talked about previously in my video, the problem with Metallica. I talked about how many of their albums can give you ear fatigue, and you couldn't possibly go through any of them completely. And I believe this issue has been fixed on this record. Now, after the opening riff and when the double bass begins, the tempo picks up just a little bit, which makes it really exciting. It makes it, it gives you this burst of energy. Also, you cannot ignore the fact that there is a lot of double bass on this song. The fans always love it, everyone loves it. It's always a pleasure when Lars does it. And to some people, it's a reminder of a classic metal anthem that is overkill by Motorhead. The main riff. I haven't played this one on guitar yet, but I am dying to. And I imagine it's not that easy, so good luck to the band when they play it live. Many people have said that it gave them Kill 'Em All vibes. And how could I disagree? Not only does it remind me of Hit the Lights, but it also got the same vibe of the new wave of British heavy metal. So when you combine that guitar riff with the double bass, it sounds to me like a mixture of two specific bands, Motorhead and Sweet Savage, both of which Metallica has covered and was greatly influenced by. Now, just before the vocals begin, I want to point out something that really grabbed my attention. So there's this really tiny transition between the double bass part and, the normal thrash beat when the vocals begin. This tiny transition is something that I don't think I have ever heard Lars do, and I believe would be very difficult to do for any drummer. The transition is triplets on the double bass. He essentially does this. So he switches from those 16th beats, I believe, to the triplets, which I think is super difficult, and again, I've never heard Lars Ulrich do. So I guess what I'm trying to point out is an improvement in Lars Ulrich's drumming. Now, can you deny that James Hetfield sounds so awesome? This is a man who's 59 years old, and he sings like this. It's such an impressive feat, especially with what he has recently gone through with all the depression and the anxieties. So much respect. Now here's a problem that I am really annoyed by. The solos. And I have a question. Has this man lost his phone at the airport again? Same formula, the same sound. There's nothing different about it. There's nothing different from Hardwired. And it's a short solo, but you cannot expect a long solo because the whole song is short. But again, it still uses the same format, the same techniques, and honestly, when they play this live, I don't think anyone is gonna pay like their full attention to him. Like they're gonna be, nah, okay, cool solo. Like I guess what I'm trying to say is that he's still doing the same thing. He's still just playing the solos for the sake of filling the song a little bit and creating a transition between the second and third verses. Basically nothing special or new about it. So I really hope this is not gonna be the case for the rest of the album. Now I previously mentioned Overkill, the song by Motorhead, and I'm gonna mention it again because after this part, they do this. They picked it up all over again with the drums first, then the guitars join. And I like to call this the Overkill restart, because the same thing happened on that song many times. So yeah, that's really cool. One more issue I want to talk about that I also mentioned in the Problem with Metallica video, the bass mixing, the buried bass. Nothing, the bass is not audible, you know, it's not, it's just doing its job, it's just being bass, it's just providing bass to the song. This is one of the issues that I find in multiple Metallica records, and it's not solved, it's not fixed yet. Once again, the bass doesn't stand out, doesn't do anything else than just providing bass. And again, I hope this is not the case for the rest of the songs. So now that we have listened to the entire song, I want to say something, you know, general about it. I want to praise the overall simplicity of it, the simplicity of the riffs. They're not that difficult, and the song is not too fast. I don't know if you agree with me, but I really feel like this song has a live feel, a live vibe, and you know, this garage band vibe. It's not overly composed, it's not overly arranged. It's simple, it's not too fast, and it doesn't stick to the tempo all the time. There are parts where just things break down and collapse. So I guess that's what's giving me that garage band vibe. And you know how Metallica rarely does this on a studio record. So I really like that they're trying to let loose on this one. Now if you think I'm done, no, you're wrong, we're only halfway through. Of course we're gonna look at the lyrics. Anticipation in domination, a sea of hearts beat as one unified. And I think this is about a certain setting that's just before the concert begins, just before the Metallica concert begins and the Ecstasy of Gold is playing, and all the anticipation, the excitement in the fans and the band members, of course. Magnification, all generations, approaching thunder, awaiting the light, also the same thing. And I want to focus on all generations because that is very true. Metallica is one of the bands that have achieved this great feat of having fans from multiple generations. You know, fans from the 80s era all the way to the current era. And now this one is cool. Full speed or nothing, full speed or nothing. That's the pre-chorus. And this is not the first time that Metallica has done this. They actually did this on Saint Anger. This is a reference to an older song, Motor Breath from Kill 'Em All. Don't stop at nothing, it's full speed or nothing. So this is cool, yeah. I'm getting the impression that this is they're looking back at their early days. In the chorus, Lux Æterna, Lux Æterna. Verse number 2, exhilaration, frenzied sensation, kindred alliance, connected inside. I guess this is when the concert has begun and the band has taken the stage. I think it's an expression of how they feel when they're playing. And maybe the alliance here is a reference to the union between the band and their fans. Commiseration, sonic salvation, cast out the demons that strangle your life. This is very interesting. This could be related to one of two things or both, who knows. It's how the music alleviates or helps in alleviating the struggles and the suffering of the fans, the people that listen to the music. And when they listen to it, they feel that they're not alone. someone out there knows what they're going through, someone out there knows how they're feeling. So making the music and writing the lyrics is a form of being compassionate to those who suffer. And it could mean that making the music is a relief to the writer of that music. So it's like a two-way thing. You make the music, people like it, and they feel connected to it. And you too, the writer of that music, uh, you find a getaway in writing that music, an escape from all the negativity in life. Emancipation, kill isolation, never alone for the feelings alike. I believe this is a reference to the metal fans, the rock fans, who feel isolated from most other people, because you know how being a fan of this music might make you an outcast. Most of us suffer from this. And many of us also might feel restrained and, held back by the limitations and the restrictions that society puts in front of us. So we find an escape in this kind of music. Amplification, lightening the nation, of course. Never alive more than right here tonight. This is reminding me of Hit the Lights, the lyrics, there's some similarities. Also, Whiplash has some lyrics that sound a little bit like this. So yeah, cool lyrics. Again, they really reminded me of the Kill 'Em All days, the first album. They had some, these short line lyrics, a couple just, a line is just 2 or 3 words. Really simple, really about the feeling that the music gives you, the feeling of being on stage, the feeling of the way the band feels and the way the fans feel, and how they interact with each other through the music, how the band gives the fans that feeling and the fans return it, or vice versa. Now we have reached the final part of this video, the expectations, the predictions, what to expect from 72 Hours, the upcoming 11th album by Metallica. First, I want to look at the album cover because I think it's super interesting. I personally have never seen a Metallica cover like this. And before we look at what's in the picture, let's talk about the color, the bright, super bright yellow. I've never seen this on a Metallica cover, a super bright color. It could symbolize something. What do you think? First of all, the crib, the baby crib. It's broken. It's in the middle also. It's fucked up. The crib symbolizes a person's childhood. It symbolizes a person's first and earliest experiences in life and the way they are introduced to the world, which of course differs from one child to another. Now, why is it broken? I think it's about breaking out of there might be restrictions, limitations, like I mentioned earlier. And I can't help but think of James Hetfield's childhood. James grew up in a religious house, super religious family, and he had a lot of restrictions, a lot of chains. So it might mean that some children are not allowed to think freely, to imagine freely, to dream and aspire as much as other children. So this is about breaking out of that shell in a violent way, in an outrageous way, because as you can see, the bed is destroyed, is almost completely destroyed. And then you have toys and instruments and other stuff on the ground. You have a guitar that's, ouch, this is painful to look at. It's a guitar that's, the neck is removed. It's cut in half basically. There's, I think I'm seeing something like a small trumpet, maybe a toy. I don't know. There are glasses. There are dumbbells. There are, I don't know, there are so many things. There are headphones. So yeah, there are multiple references to music, to James' dream of being a musician, a successful and great musician. There's a knife. I just noticed there's a small knife. I don't know what that could mean. Maybe violence. Maybe teenage violence, which Metallica has suffered from. The story of Dave Mustaine and all the alcoholism. So I guess this is about broken dreams, broken, the shattered aspirations and all the things that children try, that people, that the things that you try, the many things that you try throughout your childhood and your teenage until you find your thing. Because also you cannot ignore the fact that they're all, really black. So yeah, I guess they're dead. They're dead dreams. So yeah, it's really really interesting. The cover is super interesting. Also, the album title obviously is a reference to childhood and teenage, the first 18 years. Because yeah, if you divide 72 by 4, you get 18. And I got back up for that idea a quote by none other than James Hetfield himself. In the liner notes, he says, 72 seasons, the first 18 years of our lives that form our true or false selves. Interesting. The concept that we were told who we are by our parents. A possible pigeonholing around what kind of personality we are. I think the most interesting part of this is the continued study of those core beliefs and how it affects the perception of the world today. Most of our adult experience is reenactment or reaction to these childhood experiences, very true. Prisoners of childhood or breaking free of those bondages we carry. Now I also want to look at the set list, the track listing, the song titles, and I want to expect or predict what they could mean. First, we got the title track 72 Seasons, which we just talked about. Next is Shadows Follow, and I think this is about the career of James Hetfield, how the things that I just talked about, that I just read in the quote, the things that he went through in his childhood followed him throughout the rest of his life, let's say. The abandonment issues, which he once talked about, the alcoholism and others. Number 3 is Screaming Suicide, and the first thing that comes in mind is what he has talking about recently on stage. When they play Fade to Black, and he says that the song is about suicide and what he has been struggling with lately. Depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. Number 4, Sleepwalk My Life Away. This is interesting. I think this is about James dreaming of having a different life. Maybe it's about him rejecting his reality and wanting a different one. You Must Burn, number 5. I don't know, I think this is one of those song titles that give you a false impression. This sounds like this. Normally, this would sound like the title of a thrash song, but who knows? We're gonna have to wait and hear the track. Number 6 is Lux Æterna. Number 7 is Crown of Barbed Wire. Cool. A crown, when you hear crown, when you're a Metallica fan and you hear the word crown, the first thing you might think of is King Nothing. But barbed wire, what does the barbed wire usually symbolize? I think it usually symbolizes restrictions, limitations. What's difficult to figure out is the relation between the crown and the barbed wire. I think it's about his parents. Because think about it, who could be the king or queen who wears a crown of restrictions and limitations other than one or both his parents? Chasing Light, I believe this is about chasing fame and fortune, maybe. If Darkness Had a Sun, this is something. Yeah, I think this is also about depression and addictions, the addictions of James Hetfield. So far, I feel like the whole album is just about James Hetfield's life. Too Far Gone, this is the 10th track. I'm thinking about the Black Album era, the Black Album tour. He has mentioned this once before. During that time, the egos were out of control. There was a lot of money, a lot of touring, a lot of playing. They were super exhausted. They were out of control, basically. So yeah, I think this is where they went too far, maybe. Room of Mirrors, number 11. I think the Room of Mirrors, that place where it's mirrors everywhere, and wherever you look, you see a reflection of yourself. I think this is a symbolization of self-confrontation. It's about, confronting your own reality, who you are, and maybe also rejecting We're not accepting that reality. And finally, inamorata. Now, inamorata is a term that I had never heard of. When I translated it, I found that it's a person's female lover. So when I think about Metallica and a female lover, I remember the recent divorce of James Hetfield. So yeah, that could be it. So that's everything. That's all I got. One last word. Some people have been expecting things about the new record, and I just want to say this. Please do not expect a new Kill 'Em All. Do not expect a new Master of Puppets. Stop doing that. It never happened. People have expected that way too many times, and it never happened. It didn't happen in 2008. It didn't happen in 2016, and it's not gonna happen in 2023. This is not gonna be a thrash album. It's not gonna be just thrash metal. This is just one of the 12 songs we just talked about. And please stop saying you're disappointed, because you're lucky to have this today. You're lucky to have Metallica in 2022, 40 years, more than 40 years later. And like I said in the beginning of this video, James is 59 years old. And they're still doing this. Like, they're still in their f***ing 20s. I think this album's gonna be like a summary of their whole career. You're gonna hear something from all eras. You're gonna hear the heavy, the fast, the slow, the melodic. Basically, 72 Seasons is gonna have something for everyone. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. What are your thoughts on the new song, Lux Æterna? What do you expect from the new record, 72 Seasons? Tell me in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Have a good day. Have fun. I'll see you next time.